What's up? 15 minutes. I do have to do something at 9 before we open the room at 9:15. But first, let's talk about the SPY. Let's talk about where we were yesterday. Guys, you know, if you were on my channel yesterday, it's interesting. We talked about in the room for the past, like, I don't know, a few days that we're starting to see some bullish sentiment come through, but overall the market has been bearish, and that's what we've continued to put out in the room, is that the market has held bearish. So if you kind of look through, and I'm going to touch on this, as far as yesterday, right? Because I know some people were surprised yesterday, but you can see even here on our Wednesday and on our Tuesday, I'll show you, we put out data like this that literally shows bearish, 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 right? Number of bearish days, these ones right here, right? Now, it did show here that there was a potential for some kind of bullishness, but it was really actually a little bit over that one, right? So it kind of still leaned a little bearish. And so for this fall to happen, truth be told, I like to be very transparent. You guys know me in the room. I don't take credit for something that I didn't foresee. It dropped farther than I thought. I thought that this 417 area would probably hold. But what ended up happening, let's talk about yesterday just briefly. I'm going to keep all my indicators muted. This was the opening crash that we had down like this. We started to hold support. We actually in the room took some calls within here. We rode some calls on the way up this way. But you can see we easily had this identifiable kind of rising wedge after the fall. We broke the wedge, we retested it, came through. And then you can see the moment we had these two peaks, you can kind of draw that trend line down, right? And we just continued to reject off of it, like this. This was as we were following it about 2 o'clock. We did see some stability, so I was able to get a couple calls within here on the push up. But if you really if you think about this, right, if you stretch this chart up, pull it down like this, and you take this parallel there, and you take this parallel here, I mean, really, you still have a bearish pattern going, right? So right at market close, we kind of broke down in the extended hours to try to retest this breakdown. Bam, it just collapsed. Even in the extended hours, it just collapsed. I mean, we talked about the potential for a bullish turnaround or a bullish retracement, but there really wasn't a lot of, aside from some scalps like this, showing that we're reversing. I mean, everything was more of a bearish pattern with the rising wedges. You got the bear flags, etc. So for us to do a reversal, I wanted to see two things. I want to see a double bottom. I want to see an inverse head and shoulder, something showing that we're going to reverse, right? So you got a little bit here that did pop up. The big thing for me today, and this is what I cautioned in the room, is if you look at the 1 minute time frame, we kind of held this downtrend here too. So you have your 2 points. Notice the moment that we broke those 2 points, even in the after hours, right, we gained some significant volume. And so this volume right here tells me that, okay, we may start to see some pressure north. So what we want to caution is this pressure north could open up the market, push up back into this 417.48 range, which would be a reclaim of this side here. And we can still reject, right? The thing I try to tell people in the room is don't chase the pump. If you see a push up like this, wait for that pullback and then get that confirmed higher low, and then enter on that higher low to ride the trend, right? We don't want to enter on the peaks of it, because then that way now you're stuck in that trade for a while, and it might get out, right, because we're now reversing that trend, but there's no guarantee that trend reverse is going to hold. I mean, you have some support here that might flip as resistance. I mean, there's a lot of things that could play out against you on that. So from a harmonic tracker pro, I mean, you can see we did get a little short here. It did call long there. The 1 minute's a little fast for the harmonic tracker pro, but it's just been an interesting market, right? And so we'll take a look at the 5. Let's see if we got anything here. So we did get a long call there, which had, a little bit of movement in it, and then the short played out well. We still haven't flipped quite to that long yet. So from the harmonics, but with these movements, I mean, even the indicators, as accurate as they are are getting a little bit of fake out going on. Looking here, you know, we do have some gaps that still need to fill. This is kind of what I was talking about there. But you know, like I said, you know, we're breaking this trend line, so people could see this as a pump potential on sell, you know, to buy. So don't get trapped in a put today. My suggestion is I'm going to probably wait for the call bounces again. I do think that the dangers of how far we can go up is a lot more of a risk than how far we can go down. I'm not saying I won't take puts, but I would need to see a pretty clear play to take that put. So if you look at the 21 and the 200 on the 5 minutes, you can see if we stretch this down, you have the oh, there it is. I had the 21 muted. So we have the 21 here. We are breaking above that, right? So we have a clean break above it, which is what's giving us this volume. But we also have the 200 here at 417. So if we get above this 200 and we start rocking this, you know, 200 going north, then we're going to push up to this 419 level. But just be careful of this trend line. You can see that we have some significant points. It goes all the way up to the top there. So we could get a break above here, a push back up to the 419 before we reject again. It's definitely a possibility that we want to watch for today. So, but again, you know, that's assuming we break this 200 and we hold above it. I would not take calls today unless you get above this 200. If you get a rejection off of this 200, you can either take the put or you can just wait for the pullback, right, and try to see if we find the support again here and then take the call again. This 200 obviously is going to keep coming down as we go. So on the 1 hour, you can see the 200 is like way up here. I mean, 426. So we're getting a nice little bounce here. This is the first really good green strength that we've had pretty much since yesterday, 7 a.m. So we've had no show of strength. So this last hour has been our first show of some pretty good strength, right? So we may see that bounce start to play out. Just watch, be careful, don't bump its head at, you know, around 418 or so. You know, we may bump up, that might be our pullback, create that higher low, and then you can enter that back in. So would be my my suggestion today. So looking at the VIX, you can see it's kind of inverse. You can see we have a bearish gap fill that's playing out already. You got your double top, that's already bleeding, which is why we're pumping. I mean, to me, it looks the VIX is looking pretty bearish. So we might see a little bit of a reprieve. Not only you have the double top here, break of the neckline, but you have a lot of resistance in here too. So yeah, we might see a little bit of a bounce. Tesla's an interesting one. Jeez, I got all these news things that popped up. I tried to kill these things, but apparently this one just took over. Tesla was interesting to me because we had called the inverse head and shoulder right here, right, and it did play out like we talked about yesterday, right? We did get that equal break, but then it just lost it, right? Tried to do it again, had an extremely bearish wick. The moment it broke back below this 21, it just collapsed. So, but again, you know, we are getting near its prior support where it had a really crazy wick bounce. So we may get that secondary bounce off of Tesla. So. The dollar is currently dropping. It's up against some heavy resistance areas. You can see here where it rejected pretty hard, rejected pretty hard, rejected pretty hard on all of these. So this line right here we have marked red, 106.84. Literally it hit there, came down, hit it again. So it's kind of a little double top. If I were to go to probably a smaller time frame, yeah, you can see. So it's right at that neckline. So if this breaks, it's going to come down to here, which will give us that little reprieve bounce. But just be careful because it doesn't mean we're done, right? You know, we always are going to have our little bit of bounces as we go. So I did put out the levels for this in the community, guys. If you want to study it, you can. This is that trend line that I was talking about. We are breaking it, which is gaining that volume. You can see the arrow that we had there. This was the support line that I had here. So we still could definitely have a little bit of a pullback for a retest, but as of right now, you know, it's looking like we might get a little bit of a bounce in the market open. So all these news pop-ups, I usually don't have these pop up. That's interesting. I think it's this thing here, and you get rid of. All right. Bitcoin is just ranging, guys. To me, it's interesting because you have a double top call from the harmonics. But if you take this here and you take this here, right, this would be the pattern that I would watch, right, which could potentially be a bullish pattern. So if we do break out of here on this section there, then I would imagine we're going to pull back down to, I mean, it could get as low as 32,760. But the pattern itself is fairly bullish. So if we do begin to come up here to 35 again and we start bumping our head here, I mean, I could see a projected target as high as 36.1, 36.2. So just be careful, you know, as you're taking your calls. Or I go back and forth between crypto and options, right? So, you know, I call longs calls and calls longs and exciting stuff. But I mean, Bitcoin's holding. It's holding pretty strong. You know, the interesting thing is, I want you guys to think about this too. This is what's impressive about crypto is, for the first time, like I talked about this, I mean, crypto has just been pumping like crazy, but yet the SPY has just been dumping. I mean, absolutely dumping. So I want you to think about that, because the SPY is only going to go so much lower. I mean, it's going to get a bounce here probably pretty soon. And then we're going to head back right back up to 430, 438, maybe even 450. But if crypto can hold up here, and in the next, you know, few days, or let's say next week, if it holds up there and we begin to get this bounce, crypto is going to go up with it. And it's, I mean, that's where we're going to get, you know, Bitcoin up into that 40K range. I mean, you can zoom out to the daily and you can see these were heavy levels of support, 32.7, 32.8, you know, 34.390, stuff like that, right? And they're super heavy levels of support where we shot all the way to 45. And it's actually holding above those. It's really trying to hold those to see if it can hold that support. So if that bullish pattern happens to play out one more time, we'll see another little push up, and then we'll start to see a cool off, right? And go kind of sideways like this to see if it can hold this as support. If it holds it as support, I mean, you can see this is already calling the next block as high as like 46. So it could get pretty interesting. So more to come on Bitcoin. So but I don't see, I mean, aside from being, I don't know, ridiculously overbought, I mean, we're sitting at like 88. Last time, though, if you look here, we sat at 88, and we still went up from 21.1 all the way up to 25. I mean, another 4K before it had its retracement. So, you know, definitely possible for us to drive up more north with the FOMO and begin to see that divergence. And that's why we got this break, right? Because we began to see that divergence start to bleed down. We won't know, John, until it's not Tasty Trade. Actually, we found out it was affecting all the brokerages. I don't know. There must have been an attack on options or some crap. It was kind of BS, but it wasn't just Tasty Trade. Unfortunately, the problem was bigger than that. So I put out an insight and told everybody I didn't trade after anything after we had identified the options issue. And so, like I put out in the morning room today, my suggestion is to start out a few low volume test accounts or test trades if you're trading alongside of it, and just make sure that when you enter that trade that it's showing that P&L. If it's showing that P&L, you're good. It's likely fixed. If the problem that was happening yesterday is you would enter a trade and it would not show the P&L, it would instantly show you a negative, like on all of your total contract. And if you closed it, you could be out in profit, but it was delayed quotes. So for example, let me go to the SPY. So let's say you took a call here, and normally in a push like this, right, where you move that much, you might make, let's say, $500, $1,000. Let's say if you're about to make normally $1,000, you would actually close it, and it would close saying you made like 400. So it was ridiculous. But it seemed like it was Shep put out that on X that people were blowing it up. I mean, it was happening on other brokerages as well. So it seemed to be impacting mostly options for some reason. So, but we won't know until we test. So I know me personally, I have my test account. Y'all know I beat this account up here. My exchanges here. Actually, we have two on here. The other one we use to test for our errors. But I use this test account for that reason. I will do one contract, beat it up and make sure that everything's going properly before I start throwing in the 40, 50 contract volumes. But Um, but yeah, that's kind of what I got today, guys. It's 9 o'clock. I do got to jump off quick. I will let you guys know also in the room, for those of you in the community, if I see that it's fixed. Please communicate too if you're having issues. I thought I was the only one having the issue when I first noticed this, and I was freaking so mad. And so when I finally mentioned it, then everybody started chiming up, going, "That happened to me too. It happened to me too." Like if something's off, guys, ask, because that's how we help each other out in the community, letting us know when we see some issues. So, but we'll see you guys in the room 9:15. Let's take a quick peek before I jump off at the economic news. I did skip that yesterday, but we did have Powell talk yesterday. Obviously, it didn't end up very good because we did nothing but bleed. Jobless claims came out a little bit better than expected. That might be, some of the reason why we got a little bit of a possible bounce there. It says worse than expected, but according to what the Fed rates want, it's better than expected, if that makes sense. Can't make it make sense. Core durable goods, it actually came out exactly even, which is interesting because they expected it to go down and it did not. So looks like most of the stuff, we had the GDP come out, some growth. Most of it came out already. We do have pending home sales at 10. And then the Fed's balance sheet after hours we got to watch for too. Tomorrow, just a lot of two heads. We do have the PCE at 8:30, so another pre-market push. They love these pre-market news events. They that way they can have people take their gamble at the end of the days and hope you're right, right? Either you made a lot or you get wrecked. So, but my plan, like I put out in the insights, I don't want you to be confused. We are still bearish, but there's slight bullish sentiment coming in. Wait for the pattern. We need to see some form of a reversal, double bottom, inverse head and shoulder, unless news comes out to support it. If we're this oversold and we get some crazy good news, right, all of a sudden it's just, we're going to just reclaim this. This is going to go up like really fast. So we are in that landmine area, right? And you can see, like we talked about this yesterday, how quickly this can move. You can see with just in a few hours. I mean, we went up. This is like $6-7. So, and you can see here again, right down in these areas, you got 419.87. I mean, we shot all the way back to 431 within just a few hours. So that's what I mean when I say landmine area, guys. It can turn fast. I'm not saying don't take puts. You want to just take what you see. What I'm saying is, if you're going to take puts, I would set stop losses. It's better to, if you see that reversal starting to happen. Link in bio. I have to run, man. I mentioned I can only stay until about 9, and I'm about 3 minutes late. I got to take care of something for about 10 minutes before I open the room at 9:15. Link in bio. You should come into the room, man, and I will be happy to look at it for you once we open the room. But I would just give you my quick little feedback is that I think all of the tech stocks have the potential to bounce if the SPY and everything else plays into that, as well as the VIX. So, but I appreciate you guys' time. I'm going to jump off here. I'll see you guys in the room shortly.